Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to a new episode of React Daily. This is episode number 5, I believe. We're working this up, guys. We're working this up. Wow, I'm up pretty early today, 7:10 a.m. Pretty proud of myself. Anyways, I want to talk about, skip the BS. I want to talk about MERN, right? I'm sure for the beginners, for anybody who's doing developing, you definitely have heard of MERN. You definitely have heard of like full stack MERN. You maybe have heard of MERN, which is Angular instead of React. But today I want to show you guys some code that integrates these technology, like the part where the backend integrates with the database, and then with MongoDB, and then the part where the front end React connects with the backend. So first of all, MERN allows you to make any website, and it is just a really established technology. Like a lot of people use MERN, but if you are like MERN isn't the it is not the one best way. It really depends on what you know. So by that I mean, if you don't like to use Node.js but you are good at PHP, you can integrate React for PHP. Everything works. Like as long as you have a front end framework, front end library even, or just even playing HTML CSS in the front end, and then you have a back end technology, and then you have a database technology, then you can integrate any of them together. Now there might be some that are easier to integrate and that's usually because that there's tons of documentation, and then you can find a lot of tutorials on it, and one of them being MERN, right? But really though, somebody just knew how to do React, MongoDB, and Node, and then just put them together. By Node I mean Express and Node. So let me show you guys some code. To see where everything is integrated. So let me zoom out. So what I have to my left here is actually, this is only React. This thing right here is created with React app, which means it's only the front end. Let me go to I think this one has some backend. Oh yeah, this is an authentication app that a tutorial I'm working on. If you look at MERN, every single MERN application, I think, is readable by anyone, because, I think people make their MERN apps in a really similar formats, right? We make it into a client side, and then we make it into and then there's and then on the, so this is the entire package, and then we have inside a folder that is a client side, and then but the other things that are on the backend is on the same level as the client side, right? So the server is on the same level as the client side, and that results in two package.json, and package.json is like just imagine as something like, you can look at it to see what files you have installed. So for the back end and then database stuff, you want to install it on this folder, and then for like the front end libraries like materialize UI, I don't know, you're not gonna use that for the back end, so you want to install it inside of the clients right here. So let me show you guys some code. It's gonna be really quick. Well, yeah, again, a lot of people I think use the same formats, at least for the few ones I've read, roughly the same formats, because I think people just followed some tutorial, and then the tutorial had a really good. To start out in MERN, you probably had to look up a tutorial. It's going to be really hard to integrate these technologies by yourself. Without any like sample code or good documentation. So we all looked at some tutorial, and that tutorial had really good formatting and way to put your stuff, right? Just really good designing for the the folder designing that we just use it. So so I think the MERN projects you're going to see are going to be pretty similar. So we have a server, right? Server does whatever. Server connects the back end. So this is where the back end connects with the MongoDB. This is not where the back end endpoints exist. So just by writing this, you cannot go from the front end to the back end, because you do need to make an address where your front end can call to the back end. This is merely connecting. Well, actually, just ignore what I said, I think. Yeah, but this is connecting connecting Express with MongoDB. And that is done with Mongoose, which is just a package. Yeah, right here, and then yeah, this will be connection. And so after you connect the backend with the database, here are some functions that's the backend communicates with the database to get data. Let me go to this is a simple, and by the way, these are the actual endpoints. But we can see here, user is requiring a model / user, and then if we go to this big user, this is actually a Mongoose model. So by requiring user here, we get access to the MongoDB model, and then we can in the backend in Node Express's backend, we can just do that model, and we can do stuff like find one, because now we have access to the documents, and then we can find the individual objects in the documents if we want, and then we can definitely do a lot of other stuff with it. There are tons of methods, and really to best learn MongoDB, I believe it's just the documentation is actually pretty poor in my opinion. Everything is over the place, but go in there and just read some of the functions, and you're gonna have better idea. Yeah, so that's really the connection between backend and database, and of course there's user.find1, and there's also something like .save. Where can I find a .save? It should be under register. Yeah, so you can make a new model. You can make a new object of that model to save in the document, right? Document are basically these MongoDB collections. Yeah, so then here you do where's save? Yeah, new user.save saves the stuff from the backend to the database. But okay, so here then, right, we're saving stuff from the backend to the database. But here's the interesting thing. I mean, not really interesting, but here's where everything connects. Where do you get that data to save in the backend? You get it from the front end. The front end, for a user, you probably have a form. Let me just run a random website. I'll just run my website. I'm gonna run the last website I built, and if you guys are interested in how to learn data science, how to learn machine learning, I compiled a lot of these roadmaps from like other sources. So let me log out of my website, log in, and then to sign up, and right here this is the form, right? And then when I press register, the front end sends that information to the back end, and then the back end can in turn create a new user object, and then just do that user.save, right? And then do other stuff. So then the question is how to connect the front end with the back end. It's really easy. You probably do this. You probably have done this even if you've never done website development. You probably, if you do Python, you definitely use the request library, which allows you to make HTTP requests. And I cannot find anything that is. Okay, so right here. That right here is how you connect is how you send data from the front end to the back end. It's not necessary connection, right? Like we don't have an established server that's listening to the to this app calling to the node backend. you know, like that is it's not how it's done, you know, because everybody can call to this endpoint, whatever. But this fetch thing allows you to send data from the backend to the front end, and the fetch, when it's mapped out, is really just an HTTP request, I believe. And then because there's also another form which is like XML, oh, I forgot the name, XML request, and that is what Axios, the library Axios, which is also similar to fetch, that's what Axios maps to, but fetch maps to HTTP requests. However, I'm not 100% sure on that, but like it's fine even if you know the false information, to be honest. Actually, it's not fine. So let me just look it up. Okay, it's not the XML HTTP request. So fetch is probably it's just some sort of request. Like, I don't think it's beneficial to dig too deep into Confuser. Just imagine as a request. So that's how you connect the front end with the back end. And then if you want to know how it's done in Axios, which directly maps to XML requests, this axios.get, and then where the API exists. Oh, I didn't talk about the API. So this thing right here looks kind of confusing, like /API/user/login. What the hell is that? Now in MERN, you want to be using proxies, because your front end is going to, like, for localhost, for example, your front end cannot be coexisting. Like, your front end is going to be on port 3000, but your backend is not going to be on port 3000. It's probably going to be on something like, you know, any other number, like 5000. So, but when you do fetch assumes that you're coming from the same origin. So if you do just fetch, let me see, /API/user/login, I believe it is going to try to take you to wherever your front end exists in, and then / whatever the rest. So for me, since my front end locates on 3000, it's going to map to this, which I don't want, right? Because my backend exists on 5000. So you go to change that. You go to proxy, which is here. You just do that. Sometimes it's not gonna work. For example, this thing right here does not really work right now, but I believe it's like a create React app bug or something that I'm facing. Anyways, ignore that. Just know that you have to use proxy sometimes. So, right, this really maps to then HTTP /localhost 5000 /API/user/login. So where does that take us? Now we can find that in the backend if we go to, first of all, server, and then we see we read, and then we see, oh, so it looks like if somebody calls to /API/users, we're gonna use this users thing, and that we can then in turn go to here, right? Because users is required routes /API/users. We come to here, and then and at that point we cut the /API/users part off, so we don't have to write for every single one of them, and then we take the rest and then we map it if it's register or login or whatever. So that's really it for the integration of MongoDB. As a summary, I would like to just say MongoDB is actually not the only way to do it, but it is really good, and it has relatively good, maybe not documentation, but it has good tutorials, community, and templates, whatever. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys tomorrow.